I have not gone backwards from the urine numbers. I've simply looked at the urine lorazepam content to see if it was consistent with the proposed oral or intravenous dosing paradigm.
Well, the dosing paradigm, the oral dosing paradigm that you're referring to comes from where?
From you.
Oh, that Michael Jackson might have swallowed lorazepam?
Correct.
In any particular amount?
The 16, I looked at the projection of the urine lorazepam glucuronide content, both for swallowing 16 milligrams at 8 hours, at 8 o'clock in the morning, and swallowing 16 milligrams at 10 o'clock in the morning.
And this is, and you had a breakdown of the lorazepam, is it clonaride? Is that right?
Lorazepam glucuronide, yes, sir.
Glucuronide and the free lorazepam. Is that right? No, it's all glucuronide.
In the urine, 99.5% should be the glucuronide metabolite.
You had said in your direct examination that 25%, first of all, it all goes into the liver from the stomach, right?
Correct.
And that 25% winds up in I guess you said the bile ducts, or is that
25% of that goes through the bile duct, that's correct.
And then the rest is eliminated by hepatic conjugation, right? Look, the kidneys. Is that right?
Not exactly correct.
It is chiefly eliminated by hepatic conjugation to inactive metabolites which are excreted by the kidney. Would that be accurate?
That is correct.
A glucuronide conjugate accounts for about 50% of the administered dose. Is that accurate?
According to what Greenblatt wrote, I believe the glucuronide metabolite accounts for over 93%.
You sure about that?
I'll be happy to check the paper, but that's my recollection.
Now, the excretion in the kidneys would be all glucuronide, right? Conjugate. Is that right?
The glucuronide conjugate is almost entirely excreted by the kidneys. If there are other conjugates, they would also be excreted by the kidneys. But the glucuronide is the main metabolite.
You know, the liver, if it works harder, let me ask you, with the process that the liver goes through, the filtering process that the liver involves itself in, the glucuronization, I guess you'd call it, of drugs,
Yes.
would that be affected by the process of having to metabolize more than one drug?
No, I would not expect that in this particular case.
All right. Now, you're familiar that propofol also has a metabolite.
A glucuronide metabolite, yes.
It goes through the same process as lorazepam.
Yes.
Did you, at any point in your analysis, make a determination based on your 100 milliliter example, your dosing? Did you make a determination about what you would expect urine concentration to be after those 3 hours? Well, let me show you your hypothetical. Can I see the 100 milliliter, please? Nancy, Judge.
Triple November, yes.
This is the example that you showed the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this 100 milliliter infusion. It's marked as NNN, right?
Yes.
You hypothesized a 3-hour infusion, right?
Yes.
With an immediate drop-off, right?
Yes.
Essentially what you hypothesized is that after exactly 3 hours, the bottle ran out.
Yes.
And it turns out that was exactly the time of Michael Jackson's death.
That was the way the simulation was constructed.
Who constructed it?
I did.
So you constructed a simulation where, just by chance, that at the exact time that the bottle ran out, Michael Jackson also died.
Yes.
Think that's sort of a coincidence?
No, that was by intent.
All right. Well, let's talk about this infusion theory that you have. After 3 hours, did you make a determination about what you would expect the urine concentration to be?
Of what? What urine concentration of what?
Well, at autopsy, at death.
I don't. You have to tell me what you want.
Okay.
What drug you want to measure in the urine?
Here's what. Well, propofol. We're talking about propofol. At 9 o'clock, you have hypothesized a 3-hour infusion, right?
Yes.
Urine is building up, I'm assuming, in the body at that period of time.
Urine's being created by the kidneys.
Okay. And what did you make a determination as to what you would expect the concentration of urine to be after those 3 hours?
The concentration of what in the urine?
Propofol.
Propofol gluconaride.
No, I have not determined the concentration of propofol glucuronide in the urine.
Okay. What would you expect it to be?
I would have to find a model for that in order to make that determination. I wouldn't know on first principles. I'd actually have to find a model of propofol glucuronide in the urine to make that determination.
I suggested that glucuronide conjugate accounts for about 50% of the administered dose.
Of lorazepam, as I understand your question.
Hepatic conjugation. You suggested that it is flushed out into the urine at about 90% propofol.
May I request a clarification?
Sure, sure.
Are we talking about propofol or are we talking about lorazepam?
Propofol.
Okay, my comment about 90% was referring to lorazepam. I don't know the number for propofol.
All right, well, let's, is there any way for you to quickly find out? For instance, if I were to provide you the FDA insert, would that help?
Well, if you have it on the FDA insert, I'd be happy to look at it.
All right. May I approach?
You may.
This is FFF. Okay, so
So the FDA insert says a glucuronide conjugate accounts for about 50% of the administered dose for propofol.
So we're all clear. I think it's triple F. It's not FF.
oh, it's triple F, that's right. How much would you expect to be eliminated? Propofol would you expect to be eliminated into the urine?
I would expect it is a relatively more difficult question to answer because a fair amount of that will first go into the bile. And the question about how much of this is eliminated in the bile as opposed to how much of this is eliminated in the urine, I can't tell from this 50%. So to answer the question would require a little bit of research.
How long would it take you to do that research, Dr. Shafer?
I could do it this evening, I guess.
Would you be surprised to find out? Would it be your 100 milliliter simulation? Would that be inconsistent with 0.15 micrograms per milliliter in the urine after 3 hours?
Just calls for speculation. So you'd have to do calculations.
Well over the objection if you know in general terms. If not, tell us.
Let me say that I would actually have to look at models and give you a precise quantitative answer. I can't take a single number and look at that. It really has to be based on data.
Would you go this far? would you go so far as to say that the urine that was found after 3 hours, after Michael Jackson's death, could be evidence for or against your 100 milliliter hypothetical? Would you go so far as to say that?
Even there, without knowing, without actually having, I don't have a model in my head for propofol glucuronide in the urine, nor do I even know if most of it goes into the urine or most goes into the bile. So I think that the appropriate response is to say that without having such a model and familiarity with such a model, I would not be willing to offer an opinion whether it was for or against the hypothetical.
You just don't know.
I just don't have a... That is correct.
You did not do the calculations.
I did not do a calculation of the amount of propofol glucuronide in the urine.
Well, you didn't do the numerical and computer calculations to determine whether the urine concentration at autopsy is consistent with your 100 milliliter example.
I am not aware there was a urine concentration of propofol glucuronide at autopsy. If there was, I missed it, but I'm not aware that that was in the autopsy results.
But you're aware that there was a propofol test of the urine at autopsy.
If you can show me the autopsy numbers, I will be happy to. I'll be happy to assess that. Well, I do not recall whether or not there was a urine propofol measurement at autopsy. I would ask you to actually show me that if you could. I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, I'll be happy to show you.
Thank you.
You have seen the autopsy, right?
Yes, I have.
Obviously, you've studied the toxicology results.
Yes.
Right? Rito?
Triple Oscar.
Okay. Triple O is the summary of positive toxicological findings. You have seen this, Dr. Shafer?
That is correct. I have seen this. Thank you.
You know that there were actually 2 urine samples that were tested, right?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And one of them was urine that was on the chair in Michael Jackson's residence, right?
I don't know where it was found.
Okay. But you know that at least one of the urine samples was autopsy urine.
Taken from the bladder at autopsy, yes.
During autopsy. So let me ask you, could you, or could any pharmacokineticist or pharmacologist be able to take your 100 milliliter infusion example and determine whether or not the urine found at autopsy is consistent with that?
The number that you've shown me here is not a propofol glucuronide number. It's propofol proper, not the glucuronide.
Well, what if we had the propofol glucuronide? Could we do that?
If you have the propofol glucuronide number, and I have a model that relates the dose to the time course of excretion of propofol glucuronide, then that model could be used to assess the consistency of the number with the dose of propofol that was given.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you. May I have that?
Of course.
Your analysis, in fact, your entire analysis that you made with the prosecution, all of your simulations, are based on the assumption of a respiratory arrest.
That is correct.
You did not take into consideration a cardiac arrest in your analysis.
That is correct.
One of the things that you mentioned